Hello and welcome back to the Fantasy Take TV podcast. Round 4 is over and we've got some things to talk about on the run sheet today. We've got obviously our scores, a few of a watch list. We're going to start building a bit of a watch list for some premiums falling in price that we want to look at to bring in as our first upgrades. Obviously some rookies, and then we'll finish off with some captaincy options this week down at the gather round. So we'll get to you, George. You excited for the gather round this week, mate? Put what's already gone in the past and a bit of footy in your state this week, mate. Are you getting down?
One or two games, I think. Probably go to meet SDS Supercoach. I'm sure you guys know him.
Yeah.
I think he's Mad Hawk supporter. So I think that's at Norwood Oval, so that's other side of town, but that'll be interesting. Wouldn't mind somehow getting to Collingwood versus Saints, although that is only 2 hours apart, so I'm not sure how that works. I think that'll be a pretty wild game. But yeah, get down to Adelaide. This is like the all we got, really. The only reason to come to Adelaide is probably gather round, or if you like wine tours, we have plenty of them down the Bross. So, but other than that, yeah, pretty exciting to have footy down here.
I think you better get to how you go this week before we move on. But yeah.
Oh, how do I go this week? Well, it couldn't have got much worse than last week, really. But 2,123 ranked 47K. So it was like 60K last week. So team went all right. I think the trade-ins were mostly good. Brought in Tyler Young. What a rookie he will be for me, hopefully. Brought in Tim English and who I was death riding, but apparently not. And brought in Clayton Oliver. Just figured he's not going to drop if he keeps putting 120s and 130s out. And he's got that like Richmond North, like Hawthorn sort of run coming up. And Essendon, I think he went 170 on them. So I grabbed him for max price. It was interesting because do you go for like LDU, save the money? Probably in hindsight, the play was Max Michelini and Jordan Dawson instead of Tyler Young and Clayton Oliver, but you can't get them all. But I'm happy I have Oliver and can actually enjoy watching a Melbourne game. Although no Chandler is not fun. But anyway, how did you go, JD?
I've bottom scored this week, so 21-1-3, so about 10 points off you, George. My season ranks like 21.5K, so about halfway between you and Eno. And yeah, I'm enjoying Supercoach about as much as you this week, George. I did no trades last week after burning through 6 the first couple, and maybe in hindsight this was a mistake. We'll see. I might end up like boosting and using 3 more trades this week. But yeah, otherwise going all right. Let's hand it over to someone that actually is carrying the team this year, Eno.
Yeah, well, George sent the screenshot. I'm only up there with Shorty Supercoach, the man over there. He's doing well in the Content Creators League. But
your favorite YouTuber?
Yeah, no, my favorite YouTuber. Yep, ahead of you. I don't know. Like it was looking really good, and I don't want to sound like a cockhead, but today was really bad, which is probably due because the Hawks boys in that second half was hard. They got absolutely walloped, and just
you're Sicily owner, right?
Sicily, C-Mac, and Warple all on field, and it was possible that was going to be maybe 250, 300 points, but it was I think literally 200 on the dot. I think in the end. 2196, still take that. That was a pretty decent score for this week. Moved up to 2,500 about there. So we could talk about me, but I'll talk about the leagues, boys. You open up the rankings and we've got 3 of the top 5 leagues at the moment and a few not too far behind that as well. So it was a good week for the community as a whole. A lot in the Discord doing well. If you actually sort it by like round 4 points alone, we had, the top 5 leagues for points this week. So only in a couple of those, I think we are.
That's definitely not the Jordan Dawson cult we have in the Discord.
It might be that. Look, I think that's a big part of it, but, that's good. I don't know why you two aren't on board, the king, but...
I can't believe it.
He's the man. It was an unbelievable game, wasn't it? Literally nothing went wrong. Everything he touched.
Yeah, we'll speak on Dawson after, but like I wanted to see inside mid-time, and just get a proper look at it because they tried it early last year and they kind of just took him out, threw him down back. But apparently he did this in juniors. Apparently he had like one game where he had 24 tackles in a game or something.
What?
In the NEFL. Yeah, that was big footy. So not verified source, but that's what I did read. So
It's an undefeated source, you mean?
It is an undefeated
It
source.
helped out with the wits
tell
later.
the people, tell the people what happened there, because me and JD, we didn't really hear from you much last week. Took a bit of a break. But what happened with your trades? Because I didn't even know what you ended up doing.
Oh yeah, I didn't mention my trades. So JD, you did none. I did 3 trades. You
mentioned them, but like how you got to it, like how did?
So I got rid of Warple. I was like a bit indifferent on Warple. They added the Day looked really good. Nash went in there 70%. So I think Warple, the ceiling's not there for him anymore. So got rid of Warple, got rid of Finn Callaghan, and then I had Darcy Cameron sitting there with money in the bank. So I prepared for that. Brought in Tyler Young. So probably not worth discussing, but I think his job script is good for 2 weeks. Or 3, including this week.
Yeah, should be all right now with Tarrant re-aggravating his back injury or whatever his injury was back, right?
He pulled up lame last week, and then they tried him again, and he lasted 5 minutes. So that was kind of the punt there.
Anyway, you're going to Jerome. You were going. That's the big.
And I was going to Wits. And I was like this is a season ender if I go Wits here, even if he plays, because I don't have Tim English. So I just thought about committed to the Jubilee and whatnot. So Wits is a late out. The irony of it is, I avoided Wits in other in this format. I started Wits in other formats, and then my 2 ruckman, Cherry and Wits in other formats, have gone down by avoiding English. That's what I'm to say. But I checked Big Footy, the best source in the world, and they're saying that Wits is going to be a laid out. Some dude with 50 posts, and I'm like, how can you possibly trust this? I think Mitch Cleary got onto it. I think he must have messaged Mitch. I was looking for Michael Whiting. I was like, looking, his DMs aren't open, by the way. Thinking about DMing. But anyway, so which was laid out
because of English and before,
Yeah, so I went to England, and then I did some further look into, and there's a quote of Stuart Dew saying he wants to play Moyle and Woods together 2 weeks ago. I was like, oh shit. I got bailed by checking Big Footy there. So honestly got so lucky. I've probably been shafted by a few things this year, but went Tim English, and he's actually like a cash cow, to be honest. When he goes down, you get a big chunk of probably downgrade to 100K if he goes down.
If he does go down. If he doesn't, he's going to be the top 2-3 player in the league. Supercoach. So
English in, Oliver in, R1, M1. Move on.
I just wanted to say the funny part, you trusting in Big Footy, and because I think Cleary had tweeted before the Dogs game, only just saying keep an eye on Ned Moyle coming in, but it wasn't confirmed obviously until right before the game, and you had to switch from Wits to English, just literally trusting Big Footy. And
what added up was Moyle was not emergency all year, except for this week. So that was okay, there might be some smoke here. So
we'll wait and see. There's got to be something with Wits too, because he sort of was, late last week playing, was really struggling for the second half, wasn't he? They just said general soreness, but there's got to be something going on, but they haven't really told us yet. So anyway, I just thought that was funny. Trust in the Big Footy, and it bailed you out there. So never lost.
Pays off. Research pays off.
Anything else we want to talk about last week before we sort of get to the topic of this week, which really is just sort of a watch list on some Fulham premiums? I know there's a couple of rookies we missed, which you don't want to dwell on the past, but Max Michelini, obviously at the Crows. Noah Long, sort of one that got away a bit. He's been really impressive in a depleted West Coast side, and even Big Cammer, big part of the FTTV Discord. He's going well, and he's going to, at a 102K rookie price, going to make some good coin. So we don't want to dwell on it, boys. But we have missed a couple rookies, and sometimes it's hard, right?
Can I touch on that?
You could talk on him,
So Max Michelini. So I was going through our defense today. So Dawson's moved out of the defense. I think it's probably a permanent move, unless we start losing or something and they throw him back or whatever, just for fun. But Max Michelini, 12 disposals in juniors. But look at the Crows' defense: Duday Smith, key defenders, Miller, Max Michelini. He's our best defender. So, and I think probably Nick Murray's been pretty good as well. But I think he's probably not far. If he's not the best defender, he's not far off it. And it's interesting. His junior numbers are pretty poor, 12 touches a game from defense. Cowan is double that, for example. But yeah, it seems like even like a Ginby, like you see these players develop over pre-season. It's hard to get a read on and how much you just put into those junior numbers. But yeah, he's gone 80 and 100, so he's going to make so much money.
Yep.
But yeah, he looks really good. And then Noah Long, like the logic was small forward, bad team, but he was like pushing up as a high half forward into the midfield in the juniors, and that's something I didn't look into enough. So he's at 18 touches a game in juniors, and yeah, he's come on a little bit as well. Imagine him on a good team; he'd be doing a lot better too. Yeah. So, I guess lesson for next year: just junior numbers aren't everything; they're important, but if you eye test in the preseason and whatnot, it's so hard to tell though. It's but yeah, their ownerships were so low, so who knows?
Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate, but I guess we've got to look forward and monitor some ones coming up that we could be bringing in. But yeah, as I said, we'll look towards a bit of a watch list here. I'm not going to be a long podcast today, just a few premiums here that we're looking at, what we think about them. A couple that people are going to want to be trading out, funnily enough, but we'll get to that. And then some rookies as well. So look, first one, we'll start in defense. Yeah, go JD.
Just quickly, is it worth talking about DPP, right? Because after this week, DPP comes online. So Sheasel and Zeeble, for example, everyone's got, a lot of people have got that'll end up getting defender status. I think there's some others that are worth talking about as well, but yeah.
Bailey Smith locked in, I think.
He's locked in, but not scoring great and has to get a lot of the ball to be worth enough after what he did to me last year. Don't know if I want to go there.
I haven't looked at the CBAs. Just quick, I think the preferred three is Bont, Treloar, Libba.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Yep. Treloar didn't score great, but he had, 10 clearances in that game and 11 contested. So yeah, he's in there. McRae's the other one people ask about, but I think he had too much mid-time this week to get it at round 6, so maybe he gets it down the track, but I don't think it'll be next week.
So basically getting no one.
Yeah. Are there any others, JD? I don't think that's really it. Mainly like Zeeble and Sheasel, the main two that people already have and can sort of flex down to defense.
Will Dawson have got enough? Will Dawson have got enough CBAs to get midfield?
It's only going to be 3 weeks, so maybe. But again, he's a defender,
he played
so it
back.
doesn't really matter too much if he does or not. Just a little bit of flexibility, but I don't think there's really much.
Newcombe's been half forward a fair bit. Watching Hawks,
didn't get much of it today, did he?
But that was like more this week. He hasn't been as that much forward.
Last week he was. I think they've dropped to 50 last week, and then would have been low today as well.
C-Mac
probably gets forward eligibility because after week 1, he's basically had sub 20% CBAs.
Yeah, so look, not a great thing, but something we could maybe flex him down there if you're getting into mid. So yeah, there's not a hell of a lot. I don't think people thinking Gorns, Petrarcas, and all them were coming, but obviously they haven't come to fruition. So yeah, I guess we'll start with just some defender premiums to begin with, and what their break even is and what we think about bringing them in soon. So I guess we'll start with Tom Stewart. Just played today. Remarkably only missed that one game in round 2, but huge score 2 weeks ago, but today a little bit less. Do we think Mitch Duncan was the main thing here? I know it's probably the consensus here. Took a lot of the ball, 14 marks, Duncan, and 30 touches across half back, just seagulling up. Was that, is that going to concern you going forward, if anything? I mean, he doesn't. He always seems to cop an injury here or there, and, obviously had to interrupt the preseason. Does it scare you off Stu a little bit, George?
Doesn't take much for me to not pick Stewart, to be honest.
True.
I think he'll be fine. They had no supply in the second half at all. It's weird. Like, you looked at the first half clearances, Hawks won like 10 out of the past 11, and then it just flips the other way in the second half. And so, they didn't see much ball back there. I think he's still a target. 69 break even. I think it is something like that. He's one I know there's a few others coming down, so he's actually going to go up because the injury's gone out of his system now. Look, I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be top 6 still, so I think he's a fine target.
Yep.
His buy is obviously really handy, so I like him from that perspective. You can probably wait a couple of weeks on him, I think. Duncan back, I believe, will hurt him a little bit just because I think the kick-ins are going to be more shared than they otherwise would have been the first couple of rounds. But yeah, should still be top 6 or thereabouts. So don't mind him if he gets a little bit cheaper or like kind of stays sub 570 over the next few weeks until we can kind of ready to upgrade to him.
Yep. Another one.
Quickly, we saw Duncan play more back or like play a lot better down back late last year, which kind of hurt Stewart a fair bit. I still think he'll be fine though, but might eat into his ceiling a bit because he was like 120 with no injuries or whatever. So I don't think that's happening again.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how old's Duncan now?
32, 3 or something.
32 or 3. Like he's one of those ones where do you expect him to play every game from here to the end?
No.
Probably not.
No. Probably not. But might affect him on some weeks.
He's 32 in June.
Yeah. Sinclair, this is probably one that people are a little bit more interested in now. Dropped at 60 last week against Essendon. Just didn't use it all that well, I believe. And then he had a really good game on Saturday night against the Gold Coast. Kicked a nice goal. So, yeah, has 154 break even, I believe. So you could probably wait a week on him, maybe even 2, and then, get him in for, hopefully somewhere around the sort of 550 mark in the next couple of weeks. So would he be up there for you boys as a target, George?
Yeah, for sure. I thought it was a bit more midfield as well. Kicked a nice goal. Yeah, I'm looking at Sinclair. He's got that 60 in his system for a few weeks. So I don't even know if I can upgrade next week. If I upgraded, I'd have to get rid of like Setterfield. Otherwise, I just wait a week and get rid of 2 other rookies. So I'm not quite sure what I want to do yet. But Sinclair's him and another guy we'll speak about soon, Sicily. Those are the 2 I'm eyeing off, and whoever's at the right price, I'll grab one of those 2. So yeah, I feel comfortable with Sinclair.
Yep. He's fine for you, JD. Would Wanganeen Malira concern you? I mean, he's getting a fair bit of ball down there as well.
I mean, there's definitely like less kick-ins for Sinclair than last year. It seems to be more like closer to a 50-50 split, maybe more like 60-40 Sinclair's way. And then, there is some of that roaming up into the mid-time. I think the positive thing is Sinclair's been scoring really well, even though Saints have been winning. And given that he still is more half-back than midfielder, I assume that if this form turns at some point, which it may not, then that probably does present a little bit of upside as well for him. So, I think Sinclair's a very good option, especially if he gets, I think he's projected even with a ton to drop another 25K and be closer to 550 next week. That's a really nice price point for him. So, I'd be happy to jump on that.
Yep, and then as George said before, begrudgingly for me though, Sicily will be on a lot of radars as well after the 77 today, 76, which is frustrating.
Watching the game because he was
he finally got sort of,
and then he disappeared for 3.
Yeah. I guess that comes the fact of how dead that second half was. Again, sort of what happened.
And the rain didn't help either. Like the intercept marking was gone, and the Hawks stopped their chip game across half back, which I thought was pretty interesting.
I mean, just didn't have the ball at all, really.
Yeah.
Every time it came in there, he just was marked goal, over his head goal. He did take a few more kickouts today, though, which is good. Bramble was out of the team and not even sub as we either. Played VFL, so helps a little bit. Obviously, Impey still took a bit as well. And even Will Day snuck down there, didn't he? I think Will Day snuck down there, took some as well.
Yeah, late.
Scrimshaw, I didn't even know played. Honestly, he barely touched it. So
because the Sicily had none last week, I think, against.
None.
So
look, playing on Jezza and just supply in the second half was just insane. He was under the pump. So
what happened to CJ, by the way? Because I saw him clutching at his knee. Was that nothing?
I'm not sure. I know it was something.
Don't know.
Hyperextension or something. So
okay.
Keep an eye on it. But anyway, you guys will be interested in Sis, I guess is the point of it in a couple of weeks.
For sure. I think the role won't be this bad every week. He's done this last year. Some weeks he'll play key position. And like this week, there was just the midfield was getting burnt every time. And the ball was coming in quick and didn't really have much chance to intercept, I thought, in the second half. So I think, it was just a nightmare matchup. Midfield was getting hammered and then playing on Jezza. A little bit on Hawkins, but also Jezza mostly. So, that won't be the case every week, I think. So, he's one I certainly would like to bring in. sooner rather than later. So it'll be priced out of Dawson, unfortunately. So him and Sinclair for the ones I'm looking at soon.
Yeah, I guess like the only thing it's worth pointing out maybe a little bit is buys around some of these. So Sicily shares the round 14 buy with Dawson and Dacos, whereas Sinclair's pretty much by himself in that first buy. So maybe Sinclair's a better one to get after that first buy, but if you've also already got Dawson and Dacos, and maybe Sicily is less appealing, although I think you just load up on all three, to be honest. Only other things to consider there.
Yeah.
Just thinking about like that first buy, everyone probably has Gordon and Dunkley and Marshall. There's not much else in that first buy. Maybe you have Lockie Neal as well. So I think there's just maybe you can carry one extra now rather than wait. So
just before we move on to some of the other like maybe more relevant people, can we just quickly talk about Will Day, his teammate, who was best on for the Hawks again, I would say. I'd say pretty likely to miss a week just based on the sling tackle and some of the talk we've seen. I think he probably misses one. But assuming he doesn't, or even, fast forwarding a week, do you think he can be top 6 defender or close enough from here that picking him up at 454K actually makes sense?
He could be around the mark. Like, I'm surprised how well he's doing in there. Just like with his frame.
Like he's tall. He's tall, but you see him next to Danger, and he looks so skinny.
Tackles today. That's really impressive.
His contested marking's really impressive as well. Like, I think there's a lot to his game that I was unfamiliar with. I mean, it's that Shaq meme, right? Like, sorry, I'm unfamiliar with the game. That's totally the case. I've learned a lot about Will Day over the last month, and I like what I see.
Yeah, probably all fall into that bracket. A lot of teams ahead of us, boys, have him. So, it's been a really good pickup for them at 400-ish. If he misses a week, then do you get him the week after for, I don't know, from like a Warple up or, something like that?
It could even be like maybe Ginby plays one more and gets rested. He's at 300 and, it's only 150K to get up to him.
Something to think about. What do you think, George?
He has to be a keeper at 450, right? So,
yep, definitely.
Can he keep this up? I know Big Footy said that he missed it. He was doing limited training 2 weeks ago, just during the week. It might have been light session, but his durability has been appalling. But he's had a full preseason. He's struggled, but yeah, really looks really, really good. He looked like on the eye, like he takes some really good grabs. He like moves through traffic really well. He's explosive. He looks really, really good. Can he keep it up? Obviously in a very bad team as well, which doesn't help. So I do feel like there's going to be a poor one at some point. But the role's good. I think the 60% CBA will hold. What does he do from here? I think he does 95.
So then it's probably a no. Like he's not a keeper really at 95.
I guess
there's enough other good options.
He's doing 101 at the moment. He scored well against Sydney in what was that, 80-point loss or something.
Yeah, and I mean he did well against Cats in a massive loss as well. So,
well, his fantasy's been good every week, right? Week 1 was just a bit of a down,
the massive ratio, but he also didn't have the midfield time. So if you just look at games where he's had CBA midfield, he's averaging like 115 or something.
Yeah, true. Just looking, that was too contested.
Yeah. Maybe 95 is too conservative. I'm not sure. Just because he's still only 4th year and they're going to get hammered a lot. So I don't know. Maybe he can do 100. I don't know. I think 95 to 100 is where I'd have him this year.
Yeah.
I worry about his body a little bit.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it keeps up. Enno, do you feel strongly one way or another about this?
I don't. It's probably one I'd just, say great if you've got him. Anyone out there, and probably at 450. Just pass on because if he misses the week, I guess it helps, right? You can get some more cash out of rookies and whatnot. If he doesn't, then I'm not jumping on next week. I don't think so. Just sort of great if you have, and we'll get to the next guy, Sam Docherty. Like I wouldn't be going down to him now at 450 from whatever Doc is now. What is he for? 530, so
25. Don't want to look at that.
And going down.
He's got more to go.
What do we do?
Even.
JD Wetlands. What a nightmare.
It's old. I can't believe I swapped out of Dawson and keeping Dougherty. Come on. Yeah, I think so. Docherty's like what was it, 2 weeks ago he had 39 touches, right? It's just clangers and some disposal efficiency, and generally you don't get off guys that are going like 40 touches in a game. Like they're pretty safe to hold, especially into a soft fixture, which Carlton has. Walsh is meant to be coming back this week by sound things, only just missed last week, and McGovern was injured. Do we know the severity of it?
No, he's fine. He just got subbed out because
okay.
Injury prone. They just rested him, or like precautionary.
I think it was like a quad issue that he played through.
He did have a
cork taped up.
Yeah, but he came back out and was fine. And
I wonder if that means Cowan gets dropped this week. Anyway,
possible.
So like I think Dougherty should be fine going forward, especially with Walsh back. They put him more half back, and I think he'll be okay. He'll get used more. There was like at least half a dozen times this game where he was the next option they should have gone to, and the player burnt him, and it resulted in a turnover or like just a suboptimal like option. I think they fix that. Like they'll look at that vision and fix that. I thought Dougherty was otherwise fine with the ball and worked into okay positions. It's just a game where it didn't come together. And off the back of the week before where he scored poorly but had lots of touches, I can see why like people are hating this pick. I think it turns around. And I don't like Crows, Saints, West Coast the next 3. I don't really want to jump off into that fixture. So I'm just holding from here. I think he'll bounce back and be top 6 still.
Can I just read out the top 5 defenders for Carlton for scoring?
Sard, Newman, McGovern,
Wiedering.
Yep. And
number 5 is
Dougherty. Yeah.
I'm concerned, especially McGovern. Dougherty did drop 2 intercepts, so I think he takes those. He goes like almost 90 maybe, and he would not step out for kick-ins, 2 of them.
Yep.
That's sort of the experience of owning Dougherty at the moment. You're kind of just praying for points where you can get them. I'm pretty concerned, especially in McGovern. I just thought in the first half he was on like 20 and he only started getting touches because they threw him on the ball.
That's hard.
I don't know. There's just a lot of points to go around. It might be like an Essendon thing or even like Freo, where one defender seems to pop off 1 week, and then you like Redmond does really good for a few weeks, but he has that one down one where the others do well. And it might be similar with like McGovern, Newman, Dougherty, with Sard always doing well. That's my concern. I would like to jump off, to be honest, but I don't think it's worth 2 trades to jump off for me. I think I have to hold personally. But if I had 70k sitting there, bang straight to Sinclair or Stewart or Sicily.
Yeah. If he turns that 39 touch game into a 110, 120, and then Friday does it, takes those intercepts and goes 90, we're not talking about it as much. Like obviously just the scoring does really hurt it and the price drop and having to watch that go down and down. But I still think like from here, obviously, forget what he's already scored. I think from here he still goes 95 to 100. And is it worth flipping him to a day for 70k?
I don't even know what his role is, because it was Sard and McGovern sweeping up everything deep in defense, and Doc was just, I couldn't see him deep in defense almost ever. This is very frustrating. Yeah, it might be a week to week thing. I don't know, but I don't like it. I hate it. But yeah,
Walsh and Kennedy back, and you can probably get. Yeah, I mean it's hard because you say get a last look at him, but if it's bad again, he was dropped another 30, and
I mean I think you're just stuck to holding now. There's no.
He's dropped 80k. Yeah,
yeah. With those 2 back, hopefully it improves, and he'd be someone I'd honestly be looking at if he was cheap. So.
I don't know. Like there was a period of 6 games last year where 5 of those were under 93 or something like that for Dougherty. So this isn't beyond like what he's done before. Like he has had patches like this where it's just poor, and it feels awful, especially because it's at the start of the year where you've got others going big. But I think you just ride it out. Others are going to get him cheap, which is unfortunate, but I think he'll be fine.
Do you think he does over 95 from here on out?
Yes.
Yeah, I think he does in that range.
I'd have him about 95.
So you don't have him top 6 then? You don't think he's top 6 anymore? You traded the Will Day.
Well, I don't think Day's top 6 either.
So who's your top 6 then? Dawson, Dacos, Sicily, Sinclair.
Sicily.
Yeah, Sicily,
Sure.
Sinclair. Yep. Dawson,
No,
Dacos, Sicily,
Stuart,
Sinclair.
Stuart,
4.
sorry.
Stuart, 5. Yep.
Sard.
Sard. Wow. Okay.
Well, it doesn't look like Doc's outscoring Sard this year, does it?
No, it doesn't. It definitely doesn't. It's about time they started giving Sard a bit of attention, I reckon, just quietly.
Yeah, he's all their drive out of the back line now.
If he can be top 10, that's enough for me. But yeah, it's one of those, can't do much now.
All right. Unfortunately, we'll move on to the midfield with this. Another one that I think does JD own, but Rory Laird.
I don't own Rory Laird, no.
Okay, sorry, George, we're hitting you again here, but 163 break even. Basically everything that could have been worst case scenario with him and Clary has been worst case scenario if you're picking between the two. And he's down at 650, 163 break even, as I said, and heading towards 600k really. So a couple of tons the next 2 weeks, and he will be down at that price. And for me and JD, I think it's someone and everyone who doesn't own him that we'll have to heavily look at for sure. So I don't think too much needs to be said on Rory Laird. Are you concerned, George, with anything sort of like?
Not really. Tackle numbers are half.
He's not going to be
for whatever reason.
He's not going to be 127, or whatever he was, but he'll still be 110, 115 pretty comfortably.
It's like I don't think Doc's top 6, but I think Laird's top 8. So I'm not really moving off him.
Yeah.
Just
hasn't worked.
The seat comes off him for a bit because now I have like English and Oliver. But he's a hold now. Sucks that we lost heaps of value here, or me. And yeah, you guys get him for 600, or if things keep going even worse. Worth noting that Ash kept pulling his jumper for the entire first half, which was very annoying. And then they took him off for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Ash, sorry. I mean, it's just a hold. If you don't have him, you're laughing.
Yep. He's like the first one we're looking at, JD, to get in.
I want to see the form change first, but I do think that with what we've seen out of Dawson the last 2 weeks, there's no way Laird gets attention for the rest of the year. Like if you want to put time into someone in the midfield, it's going to be Dawson, unless they're able to move him behind the ball effectively, which nullifies the tag. I think that is the one benefit for Laird. The H tag, that doesn't happen again. At least, they've got Carlton this week, so no tag. Hawks the week after. If you're going to tag with Finn McGuinness, it's probably going to be Dawson over Laird, and then Pies don't tag, Cats don't tag, Saints haven't been tagging. So, I think he should recover after this week. Carlton's obviously another hard matchup in terms of they suck up points. Not that it stopped Laird last year, but him into the Hawks matchup might be pretty interesting, depending on how Laird goes this week and if we see him kind of recapture some of last year's form.
I would be worried. His 3-run average is 119.
No, I'm not at all.
With Laird, I mean, there's one score that's propped that up, and then there are 2 others which we would.
There's also one that was a bit hot for him and props it down.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not concerned, JD, at all. I think 28 touches with a bit of a tag and for a half.
I mean, he's had more sub 120 scores than he did all of last year, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at last year, right? Thinking, where's this 125 average coming from? It's not. It's going to be 110, 115.
It'll be 110 plus, no problem.
But for 600, I'm grabbing that. I don't really have much confidence in a lot of others, really. So he's
durable, obviously, which helps as well.
For cheap. Setterfield's going to him as soon as it looks smart to do so. It's probably 2 weeks, I'd say. Other ones, Parrish, I guess. A couple of Dons mids here. JD, what do we think of those? So yeah, obviously Setterfield I brought up has come into the mix. Shields still around. What have you seen from both those guys, Parrish and Merritt, in the first?
So I think the SM midfield overall has looked pretty good this year. Without looking into the numbers for each of them, I have a feeling that Parrish has suffered a little bit because they're not using him as the link-up mark kick option through the midfield. That's what Setterfield seems to be doing now, just as that bigger, taller mid. If you see someone get uncontested possessions, it's usually him. And if they're looking for a ball user, it's not Parrish, it's Merritt running by or Redmond running by. He's working up the ground more this year. So I think they've all looked okay, but does feel like a little bit like there is some point sharing going on between Setterfield, Parish, Merritt, and Shield, who's also been good this year, which makes all of them kind of not great options. I think for any of them, you're just hoping for like a really big down game, and then maybe you can jump on the back of that. I will say Merritt in particular seems like he's copped attention or being tagged most weeks, or like if not a hard tag, like a softer tag. So I feel like his scoring's actually been very good considering the amount of work that's been put into him over the other mids. And he's probably still one that if he does get cheap, like we've seen in other years, gets to like a low 500 or a sub 550, that's probably the one you want to pick up of the four. But yeah, like I think nothing either way. If you've got them, you're probably holding. Like I don't think you need to jump off any of them, but they're not super exciting options for me at the moment.
Yep. George?
I'm keen for Zach Mirror. I've no interest in Parish.
Yep. I think I'm same.
Yep.
I think I'm pretty similar. There's a period, JD, where after the bye, you come out with Freo away, Port at the G, but then after that, it's like 5 of the next 6, I want to say, at Marvel, for the back end of the year with some, North, West Coast.
I think
Adelaide.
even before the bye, so at round 10, we play Richmond. And then after that, we've got West Coast and North twice in the remaining fixture. So I could see people wanting to jump on to Redmond in the back line if he's reasonably priced as a D6, a Merritt, or even a Parish in the midfield. So yeah, any of those 3 options just with that fixture.
Yeah,
and they also, on top of West Coast North, they still have another game against GWS, another one against the Crows. So yeah.
Yeah, that actually looks like really good timing after Port and Brizzy away. Then you just, that looks really good. And lastly, we'll get Touk Miller, who, for obvious reasons, we avoided with his preseason.
Same reason as English, and it turns out Miller's probably been one of the better 600k mids.
One of the best, without still obviously being great, and he's still dropping in price. So,
he hasn't had a sub 100 score, which is, and he's gone down 37k, which is pretty wild. I mean, he was definitely overpriced as a starting pick, but liked him better than Neil, Laird.
Well, he went to 120 last year, and he's going 110. So he's always, it's hard to keep up 120.
But I would say he's either at the bottom or close to bottom at 626. Although with Ace tagging last week, maybe they tag Miller this week, and you actually do see a bigger drop. But if he gets past that, then it's, I think, North Tigers next couple after. So he's also another nice one as an early upgrade target. And much like Stewart, has that good buy. So it's probably someone that you want to bring in just because it can help you through your buys and your buy structure.
Yep. Have you paid much attention to Touk, George?
Not really. I'll grab him later.
It's not an exciting pick because he hasn't shown a ceiling game yet.
Nah, he's still pretty bad with disposal, right?
It brings a low number.
It just hurts him.
He generally will heat up soon.
Yeah.
Last few years he has. So yeah, I'll definitely think he's top 8. So I'll grab him at some point. I think for my structure personally, I need to grab. I got Wilmot D5 for God's sake. I need to grab 2 defenders. So probably wait on Touk. But yeah, I guess if you don't have Laird, I think Laird is probably the first one if he drops below 600, which he might at this rate. But if not, the other one is probably Miller or Merritt for me personally.
Yeah, I think Laird and Touk's probably my second. For the midfield, early targets. Forward line, there isn't really much besides those who do not own this man, and that's Stephen Canelio.
Yeah, I was going to say, should we talk about Canelio? Because I think Dougherty, Laird, and Canelio are the 3 kind of premiums that people ask most about. Like, if I've got them, can I trade them out? And I think from what we've heard so far, George was saying, Doc, fine. You could trade out Doc if you've got nothing else. Laird is a keep. Cogs?
He's a keep. As much as it hurts, he's a keep. In the forward line that we're not getting any DPPs in. Have the CBAs come out yet? Because he did spend a bit of forward time. But that's obviously a little concerning, but he's still going to be the main guy. Like, they don't have...
he's third behind Kelly and Green.
He's third. Yeah. He's third, but he's going to stay third, right? There's not much else. They have, Rouston's their 4th at the moment. I think, did Brent Daniels roll through there a bit, or did he just play forward all game?
Oh, by the
Not
way, he was
totally
someone that I
sure.
mentioned would have been a good
Yeah,
rookie
we
option,
all
and
mentioned
he's been real good.
he had
Anyway,
like a hammy again, like two weeks in, didn't play any practice games. Like it's so hard to pick someone like that.
yeah, it is. Yeah. Anyway,
And if we didn't have all these corrections to make in round 3, it's probably someone we could have looked at. But
all right. So just quickly, is he a top 6 forward? So do you have him ahead of Dunkley, Taranto, Rosie, Goulden, Zeeble, or Sheasel?
Zeeble, yeah, I can see him still beating Zeeble.
I have him 7th.
Behind
She's like
those, or have you got a different forward that you like?
Well, Dylan Moore is just tearing it up at the moment, but I guess not enough CBAs to go there personally. But look, he probably should outdo Zeeble, really. The points come easy for Zeeble, whereas with Cogs has never, ever been a smooth sailing pick because for some reason he ends up in my team every year, except for this year. Even when he was mid-only, I picked him, and then like that year that he got dropped with Leon and whatnot. He's a confidence player. If I don't know what it is, but I feel like last year was his big comeback year. This year the numbers are still fine. Like it's still getting what was his touches? 29 last week for 58 and 25 this week. The numbers are still fine. Low tackles at the moment, but I can't see him going below 90. Just with Cogs, he's been frustrating in the past. And this year might not be different. It was only a month ago where he scored 150 or whatever. So, I would hold because he should be top 8 forward still. Probably should be top 6, but wouldn't worry too much about it.
It was 25 for Green, 21 for Cogs, 19 for Kelly. So he had more than Kelly on the weekend. And obviously that can be determining when goals are kicked or not. But yeah.
He's dropped 35k this week, and his break even is 167.
Yeah.
So I think the concern is like it stings, but what do you even do with him?
You hold.
If you think he's top 6 or top 8, you still hold. I think so. The numbers are still fine. Like theoretically, like he should be a hold.
Numbers, roll's fine. He's just playing bad, and he's just having bad games. You don't trade up premiums on bad games if they've still got the role, unless they've like seriously fallen off a cliff. But he'll still be around the mark. My point is, there's no DPPs coming in to the forward line. There's, no other picks out of nowhere besides, I guess, the North boys. But they're part of the defense too as of next week. So he still falls in line somewhere in the top 8 for me. So I don't trade him. There's not much else in the forward line. Everyone really sort of already owns the other sort of 4, and we're probably just waiting to see who else pops up.
What's Jeremy Cameron doing? I feel like he's going ballistic.
He's going nuts. He's absolutely insane. He's a top forward now after today.
Oh, you're kidding me?
Yeah.
Of course he is for average.
Yeah, total points. Sorry. Yeah. So
he's averaging 115. He looks unreal.
He's ridiculous right now.
I forgot about Darcy Cameron. I definitely feel like I need Darcy Cameron just to cover rucks for the rest of the year. He'd be like the perfect F7, or maybe your Zeeble goes on the bench or something, covers both lines, and then you got what's his face, Darcy Cameron covering the ruck as well. That would be perfect if we somehow can manufacture a team like that. But see how we go.
Got him at 6 to 8, so he's still a little bit away, but sort of second half of the year type stuff. All right, JD's got to attend to the kids, so there's only a few rookies here, George, to really speak about this week. Maybe just quickly on last week, I got in Rouston because I had to. Couldn't afford Phillips if I wanted to get English from old Trek, so that isn't looking too hot, but it's sort of like same role expected. He just didn't find,
50 Todd, 50%, I think.
Yeah,
58,
60,
I think.
Yeah, it's not great. He's probably out in 3 weeks.
He's got to play though, I think.
Yeah, just hopefully he can make me 100k. But what do you think of Phillips on Friday?
Phillips looks good, but I mean, it's the same problem. The like, what? Yeah, I don't know. Is he spot going to hold?
Clarko didn't speak too well of Cunners, did he? In the aftermath.
No, that's true.
I think it does. For at least another week, and just to wait and see. But that's what you get. You were getting in a rookie with a nice low break even. If he plays, he's going to make cash. So you just sort of hope he makes and plays, as much as you can. You're not really getting him in anymore. He's gone. Wait and see.
Maybe Wardlaw comes in soon. I know they're slowly building him up, but apparently played well. Last week he got votes in the legendary coaches votes in the VFL. I think he got 4 of them last week. I don't know how he did this week, but
he had pretty low touches this week. I want to say it was only 14 or 17 or something, but a lot of those were clearances. So just from looking at the stats, it to me read as having high impact at stoppages, but probably still not spreading like what you would expect. And I think that's where the conditioning stuff comes into play.
Yeah. Anyway, if you got Phillips, nice. If you don't, you're not getting him in anymore. This week, so I think the clear number one is Van Rooyen. Fair chunk of the comp sort of went him early next week because there wasn't much else besides Phillips. Maybe people had him and they needed someone else. So he's already got a little bit of ownership. I think around, 10% almost, which is kind of funny. But he's a clear number one for this week, guys. What did you think on Sunday, George, yesterday? I mean, he took him a while to get going, but he kicked in a couple of goals in the end and scored a 50.
I kept my eyes on 2 rookies this week. One was Van Rooyen. The other one was the Port one, Williams. So I'll touch on Van Rooyen. I thought he was good. So they played 3 tools. They played, what's the defender's name? Petty.
Yep.
Petty. McDonald played pretty well. And Van Rooyen. Van Rooyen also rucked a little bit too. He looks good. He made lots of contests. Probably could have kicked 3 goals. I think he kicked 2, but he dropped the biggest sitter ever, uncontested, and then juggled it over the line. No, he makes a lot of contests. He's always in the air, flying for marks. Coaches would love that. So I have confidence that he will hold. What are they going to do with and Ben Brown? Is Ben Brown injured or is he not best 22?
Supposedly the back.
Okay.
He was held up. So Ben Brown was injured. So I think this is a tough thing. I think he was injured. Wait, maybe I should check that team sheet.
He got subbed out with the back, but he was sort of kept out in the end.
Yeah. I think Van Rooyen was good enough on the first game he played to be on merit the best of the forwards that we'd seen from Melbourne this year. I thought this week he was clearly behind McDonald. So what happens when if they bring in Ben Brown again?
Do they put Petty down back?
Yes, they could put Petty down back, but then assuming JVR then holds as the third, he's only holding maybe until Gawn comes back, and then one of JVR, McDonald, Ben Brown gets dropped. So I think the thing is he's not a locked in best 22 forward, but I also think that none of Ben Brown or Tom McDonald have shown form to be a walk-up selection each week. So I think he'll get games throughout the year, just not every game every week, if that makes sense. It'll just be based on form, how they're going in the twos, and he's been dominating the two. So I would imagine that even if he gets dropped, it'll be as soon as one of McDonald or Brown have a couple of bad games, he's back in the side for a couple of weeks. So I think he's just a slow burn, but he's not the best selection ever. And he's still a key forward as well.
The thing is, Melbourne, he plays for Melbourne. So endless supply, and then he has the last fixture coming up.
Thing as well. Yep.
I like him. I'll bring him in this week. I think there's enough there. I'm not 100% sure he'll be in the team for a month, but I think he will. And there's not a lot on offer at the moment, so that's enough for me. And I still have Chesser, so Dave in the forward line. So I'll be bringing him in for Chesser this week.
Yep. That's really it for on the bubble. We'll talk about a couple others in a sec, but Brockman dropped to 25. That was kind of
subbed out
around the corner, subbed out.
Yep.
You're not really going there. And then I think there's Judson Clark, who's up at 196 though, scored an 80. I think he's sort of on the fringes as well. Played well, but anyway, overpriced. You're not going there. Did you want to quickly speak on Dylan Williams, George, before we move to some that have already played and risen?
I only saw the second half of this game because watching the other game. But he decided to watch the Port game, which is pretty wild ending with Florid almost kicking the sealer.
That was the best fake out. You thought it was going through. The camera angle looked like it too. Then they're celebrating and you're like, oh, there's no way the players are celebrating when it hasn't gone through, right?
Mills just ran off the line and Buddy not blocking a leer. Like, I mean, it probably wouldn't have got there, but still.
No, I mean, the ball was never
do
there
something.
anyway.
Yeah, it's held up in the
run
wind.
it back down.
Anyway, yeah. He play half back, right? This kid, George.
Yes. So he played halfback in the preseason, played halfback again. He looked all right. He just doesn't seem like a high accumulator. So in the SNFL, he went 91 fantasy the week before. This week, I want to say he scored like 60 Supercoach. He does some nice things. It's just like every 5 minutes he'll do like one thing. Not a massive impact, but he's fairly new to the role. So he's been a forward in the past. I need another look at him. I think Ryan Burton's out of the team, isn't he?
Yeah.
And then they used DBJ as a sub.
Yeah. So look, you're not bringing him in, but just keep an eye.
No, I think the role is nice enough, and I thought he did enough to hold his spot. I need another look for sure. I'll have a quick look at the injury list, see what the timeline on Burton is. But yeah, he's definitely a wait and not early.
Yep.
Van Ruin ahead for me. I know that the role was better for Williams, but yeah.
Oh, you get the guy on the bubble this week and see what happens next week. All right, we'll now talk about a couple of Richmond rookies, which is probably all it's going to be worth talking about for Richmond for the rest of this year with Lynch out for a couple of months, Nanks in dysmosis, so there goes my fantasy team as well.
I had Wits this week, so yep.
Yep. But that opens up the spot for. Okay, we'll start with Tyler Young. George, you've got him in already. 142 was a 102k rookie, so actually rose exactly 40k on the dot. Break even is still negative 31 and just scored a 60. So Tarrant injured in the VFL. He'll be out still a while and away from the team. Broad suspended for another 2 weeks, I believe. Is it? Yeah.
3.
One. Yeah. Anyway,
let me have a look.
Anyway, I think it's another 2.
3. Sorry, another 2. Yeah.
Anyways, I think regardless of that, he still should be locked in the team. So if you needed a defense downgrade, he's probably the only one. Would you look at him this week even after a rise?
Probably not. He scored a 60 in the preseason. I think first game scored 30, then a 50, and then a 60 this week. So
he's been building. He's 70, 80, 90 next 3 weeks. He's going big.
He's 24, 25 years old. He's been in your VFL system for a while, however long. He can't kick. Oh, my goodness.
We didn't play.
He took a kick in, though.
Yeah, what the hell? Why? I was so scared. Yeah.
No, he's all right. He has to play because Gibcus had that nasty, 3-month hamstring or whatever. I think it's injury list is 3 to 5 weeks. So that actually might be 2 to 4 now. So I think he might be on borrowed time for Gibcus unless they want to ease him in. And then like Tarrant might be cooked because he's been injured all preseason. They put him off halfway through a VFL game, then he lasted 5 minutes in the next VFL game. So just assume he's out for a while.
Gibby's still a month probably. So
yeah, so I think he's got at least 2 weeks guaranteed, and then. So you think he'll hold with Broad in the team when he comes back?
Might. Yeah.
Okay.
It's probably only if they want to bring Tarrant in.
I think 140 is a bit too much now.
And to be honest,
you'd rather have JV out 123. That's the thing.
No. If you're desperate in defense, right, and you need it to be a defender, he's the one.
I think
then you just wait a week until you can put Sheasel or Zeeble back there. I just don't think you force Tyler Young.
Yeah.
No, you're not forcing. He's just there if you need. Bolton might go forward. Who knows? Because we're desperate down there now. I don't know. Who knows?
That's true. That's a good point.
We'll see what happens. But Samson's the other one, bigger one to talk about, as you said, with Nank. Syndesmosis. I don't actually read the article, but syndesmosis is syndesmosis, so it's a decent chunk of time. Bradkey, that preseason pick, we took broke his hand. I think he's out for a while. Biggie Newen there, got injured as well in the VFL, so it's literally Ben Miller who'll probably have to come in. And Soldo's still out, I think, with like a foot injury. So
a couple weeks
we've literally got nothing.
I would imagine they play Miller and
Samson
Ryan, and they swap between them. Yeah. Soldo is listed as 1 to 3 weeks last week, so that means 0 to 2.
Yeah.
So
week.
I will say, like, I have Ryan in fantasy, and he covered for Wits, which I couldn't avoid this week. So I've been watching him a little bit, and I must say, his tap work as a second ruck has been one of the more impressive parts of the game. Like, I can see why he was a ruckman, or was talked about primarily as a ruckman before the forward conversation came into play. And with that said, like, it's obviously against second rucks more often than not. I think against a bigger ruck, he might get beaten up a bit. The other thing I noticed as well is this week he scored quite poorly compared to some of the other weeks where Lynch was out. So, like, Lynch being in, I think, hurt him quite badly because they just kicked to Lynch. Like, Ryan is not really looked at that much as an option. It's always to Lynch running out of the 50. So I think with, like, Lynch out and Nank out, both of these things are probably good for Ryan. When he's in the forward 50, he's probably a number one option until Jack's back, which I don't know when that is, Eno.
Rewalt, he's just rested, so he'll come straight in.
Oh, okay, straight back in. Yeah, so maybe he still struggles and they just kick to Jack nonstop. But even Jack, they don't love. But yeah, so I think it helps a little bit from a forward perspective. And even if he's going from just like resting ruck to 50% mid time, I think it's going to help a lot as well. So I think the injuries are really beneficial for his scoring in the short term.
Yeah.
He does play Sydney next week. So they have both McCartan boys got knocked out, and they have Laddams as well.
Yeah. Guess question is, do you bring him in at 156 right now?
I think I'd just take Van Ruin for 30k less. But I must say, I do think that his ruck cover will pay off at some point.
Yeah.
So I'd actually like to get him, but I can't.
Yeah, if I had the extra cash, I think I'd rather get him over JVR if I had, like, Madden at R3. If you've got Radigalia or someone already, then it's probably not as important. But if you, like, if it's just Madden loop and then no other ruck cover, then I probably like Ryan more. But, as the Tigers, man, what do you think? How are you feeling on Samson?
I would like to get him, yeah, but it's the logistics around having Madden, having Radigalia, Fergus Green, and Chandler on field. It just doesn't look right because I have to get. I want to get JVR. Do you get both, and then have to field one? Probably not. It's kind of annoying. Radigalia went 88 this week. He was just straight out for me, but kind of got to hold him now, I guess. Brack even back into the negatives.
Even like Fergus, most people have. Fergus Green, he reset his break even.
Yeah,
negative 15.
They both bloody did. So now I'm like, well, who even goes for me for JVR, let alone both of them? So I think I'm with you. Get JVR first, but hey, I wouldn't be against people taking a risk with a rookie, but going Samson instead because his job security is A1 right now. He has to play. Whereas, as you said, we still have some question marks over JVR's longer term, right? I think he plays next week and maybe the week after, but after that, what's it look like? Yeah, I'd like to get both, but I don't think it's going to be plausible.
Actually, if I had money sitting there, I'd probably go Ryan for the right cover over JVR.
I can get them both, and then I have to field one. Send him forward to the mids. Bench C-Mac maybe because he's getting all this forward time and just, loop Sam. I can loop still, right, which is nice. You can still loop Samson and Fergus or something. It's an option.
Yeah.
I'll think about it. I've got a few days. Any others, boys, you see rookie-wise? It's not a great deal.
Not much coming through, I think.
What about going out of our teams? Which rookies would you be okay with getting rid of for these types that we've just talked about? Alwyn Davey?
No. He's going to need one break even.
Who's worse than that you'd get rid of?
Just quickly, Johnson for Fremantle sub again. I don't know if he'll play though. Yeah, so he made no money. He's only played twice, but break even 33.
Yeah.
One to watch. You don't even have to go this week, just if he plays or not. But anyway, like trade outs, I'll hold Davey. It sounds like his foot's fine. I think.
Okay, so who are you going to JVR? I guess I'll ask. Who's your worst?
Oh, it's Warple. I think if you've got Warple, you're trading out Warple to JVR. I don't think it's any of the rookies that we've currently got.
Right, it's someone off your field then. So who are you fielding? That's more the question. Because if you don't,
so I don't have anyone to get him to.
I'm putting Chandler on
Okay.
So I've got Chandler currently benched, but I think if you had Hollins to put on, that'd be okay as well, or Phillips to put on, that's probably okay. But otherwise, I mean, if you're trading,
I don't have anything. Yeah.
then it's a tougher spot.
Makes sense.
don't have. Would you, if you had money, would you go Madden to him?
Well,
It's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
Then just use Constable as your loop or Chesser, whoever you held.
Yeah, I got Constable. Maybe. You gotta like looping in the rucks though, no problems.
Yeah.
Doesn't cause any issues. If you get another laid out in defense or mid or whatever where you're doing it, and you've already used the E in the loop, you're stuffed. Nah.
Okay, what about if Jimby gets rested this week? Because his scoring's been good. His break even's now 18 because he dropped a 40. So if he gets rested, then he's got 100. He's got 104 in his rolling average, right? So he gets rested, he comes back, he scores the 18. He goes, I don't know, say 70. Makes a little bit maybe another 25k, but then he's got a break even of about 65, so it's plateaued then anyway. I don't know. It just feels like in the next 3 weeks, we might only get another 20, 30k out of Gimby, and that's when you'd be looking to trade him anyway.
If Gimby misses next week and then he goes 70 for the next
4 weeks. For those that don't know why we're talking about him missing next week, there was some talk about him potentially being ready for a rest with them having quite short turnaround times and a fair bit of travel. And just, I don't know, maybe he's hit a wall and needs rest. I don't know if I necessarily believe that, but there's a chance that he misses either this week or next week just through rest.
Yeah.
I think he's got another 70k.
They haven't left.
I think he's got much more money, but I'm just saying in the next 3 weeks is probably only 20k more in there.
No, I won't be moving Gimby on.
Yeah. I mean, he's a good on-field option at the moment.
Correct. Yeah, I think maybe if he gets a rest, it might help. But he come back, drop some 70s on field for us. Don't think there's anything else rookie-wise to really look at this week. Not great deal. JBR's coming in probably for most of the comp, and then maybe Samson if you have a way of doing it that suits your team and structure. All right, captains, boys, to finish off with that. What are we looking at in the land of the Crom?
All right. Well, at the game of the Crom, or
game of the Crom if you want, but just the land of the Crom. They own the state at the moment.
I didn't hear
that, George.
Okay. Well, should we start with the two obvious ones? So, Clary against Essendon went 146 on them last year. That was, of course, the MCG though, and then Tim English against Lysette. He didn't play them last year. He only scored 49 the year before that. But I mean, Lysette has not looked good. So I think English against Lysette, those two both look like really obvious ones to me. Other things I think look nice. Just having a quick look. Josh Kelly against Hawks. For anyone that's picked up Josh Kelly, I think that is a very nice matchup. You've got Dacos against the Saints. Saints have been giving up points to halfbacks, so I think that's potentially a captain option there as well. Not as bullish on Sheasel or Zeeble against Brisbane Lions. And then apart from that, there's no one that really stands out to me. I guess if Witts misses, then you've got Sean Darcy against Moyle. So that would be a nice vice captain option. I probably don't really like Dawson or Docherty facing off against each other on the Thursday night. Did Dawson score well against them? I mean, it's a bit looking at what they've scored previously.
Yeah, he did last year.
Because the roles changed.
I remember that game.
They cooked them. I was at Crown and I was watching it. A couple goals.
And then I guess
how you remember that shit.
Bont against Port, not really. Geelong against West Coast, there's no one really in there that's relevant. So yeah, I think that's probably everyone. Is there someone that I've missed that you guys are thinking about?
Well, we have to think, right? The Clary into English is not everyone's possible choice, right?
I listed others. I listed other options in there.
Yeah. You listed everyone. So what would
Dunkley against North? Bounce back game, vice captain. Anyone? Any takers?
People are so off Dunkley, aren't they? I would look at that if you didn't have Clary and English. Yeah, as a VC.
Otherwise, Goulden against Tigers is a sneaky outside V option because he's not going to get attention, which he has been getting. Tigers have got massive injuries. Feels like the type of player that could cook him a bit on inside 50s.
Yeah. Yep. So I think Clarion to English, if you don't have either of those, maybe dunks into Dacos. Or Tom Green if you fancied that. But annoyingly, you couldn't do like Tom Green into, no, you can't. So yeah, if you trusted the C on him, I think everyone will be doing Dacos.
I mean, it just feels like the Dacos tag's got to happen eventually, right? That's the
And
problem
Russ
with
the
putting
Boss
him as a
time.
C now. It's going to happen at some point. And Saints are a team that have used taggers in the past.
So you have one, right? You have English. What's your plan?
Probably just for force Oliver. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Right.
No. Okay. So if I only had English, I'm doing vice captain English into Green or Dacos, I think.
Yeah. I think that's what.
I think my preferred is English. So like, do I want to take Oliver? Because
I think you do it.
You do Oliver into English, I think, but I think English will be better. So, yeah, it's Oliver English 1, Oliver 2 for preference. And then if you don't have them, you can always VC Laird or Dunkley against North.
Yeah, I mean,
that's probably how I'd go. And then
144 on Carlton last year.
Is there any way you put the C on Dacos, or are you too scared of a potential tag?
Let's see what they talk about this week. But I don't know. I feel like when they tagged Dacos, right, or gave him attention, they just moved him to halfback, and halfback score well against the Saints. So I'm not even that.
When Dacos gets tagged, he moves himself towards the ball and his teammates. That's what he does.
He just wherever can I get the?
Give me
I mean, but like the Port tag was like one of the worst executed tags
work.
I've ever seen. So
I think the worst you get is like a 90, 100C. You're not going to get a stinker.
I still like putting the vice captain on the player that I want to captain. And so I want to captain probably English. So I'm happy to vice him into C Dacos or vice Oliver into C Dacos.
Whichever you want. Yeah, okay. I'll probably do Clarion to English because it just makes too much sense. But yeah, I know what you mean.
You can't possibly miss with that combo unless Clary somehow goes 115 and then you go English and then something happens.
He goes 150 again. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. That
I'm scared to see him.
That's always going to be on the back of your mind, isn't it?
That's just me.
Now that you're an owner, yeah.
I remember seeing Fife in the past. I reckon I've captained Fife 3 times. He's got injured all 3 times.
3 years ago, KO'd on the Sunday.
Yeah,
had him as captain. Anyway, it's going to happen. Yeah, well, gather around. Look forward to it. There'll be plenty happening. I wonder how the Adelaide Oval's going to hold up with about 6 games there in one weekend. Be all chopped up by the time by Nick. Did you as well?
Turf was not turf. Yeah, turf was kinder here apparently.
Collingwood Saints, that'll be a good game to finish it off.
I can't wait for that game. That'll be good
with the chopped up turf. So looking forward to that. But yeah, onwards and upwards, boys. The as I said, the community shout out is going pretty well at the moment. So unfortunately, we're not that number 2 league, KFC. That would have been nice, but we're doing all right. As you scroll down, there's a few around there. So hope we can keep that up. But yeah, other than that, thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.